Thank you very much, Doctor. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Dr. Richburg, Reverend clergy, quiet. Y'all can sing. Good morning, Bethel. It's good to be with you this morning. Good to be with you worshiping this morning. And it's good to be back. I was here the Sunday before the primary in 2008 to make the case for my very old and dear friend Barack Obama. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, most of that time on welfare, with my mother, my sister, my grandparents, various relatives who came and went in our grandparents' two-bedroom tenement. I've told the story of sharing one of those bedrooms at a set of bunk beds with my mother and my sister, so you go from the top bunk to the bottom bunk to the floor every third night on the floor. For all the things we didn't have, we did have a community. Because that was a time when every child was under the jurisdiction of every single adult on the block. You messed up down the street in front of Ms. Jones, she'd go upside your head as if you were hers. And then she'd call home, so you got it 2 times. I think what those adults were trying to get across to us is that membership in community is understanding you have a stake in your neighbor's dreams and struggles as well as your own. I've had my chance to go to college, to go to law school, to serve as a civil rights lawyer for the Legal Defense Fund, as head of the Civil Rights Division in the Justice Department in the Clinton administration, as a business executive, as a 2-term governor of Massachusetts. But I am reminded this morning, about being in a park on the south side of Chicago when I was 6 or 7 years old, the first time I heard Dr. King speak. And to tell you the truth, I have no memory of what he said, but I remember what it felt like. I remember how, like all those other folks in that park, people of limited means but limitless hope, felt like we had a stake in the American dream. So much progress. My story, maybe many of yours, we've made in the last several decades. But everybody knows we have unfinished business here in America. Because the cheery economic indicators don't tell the whole story. Right? Unemployment is low as long as you count both or all 3 of the minimum wage jobs people have to survive. Right? Inflation is low as long as you don't count the cost of housing, health care, or education, right? The very things that enable people to lift themselves and their families. We know we have unfinished business. And I also know it doesn't have to be that way. About 10 minutes after I was elected governor of Massachusetts, a very unlikely race, the bottom fell out of the global economy. 8 years later, Massachusetts is #1 in America in student achievement. In healthcare coverage, 99% of our residents have health insurance. #1 in America in veteran services, in entrepreneurial activity, in energy efficiency, and a 25-year employment high. That didn't happen by accident. That happened because we asked people to turn to each other instead of on each other. And I bring that point because there are many good candidates in this race, but they have ideas and plans. I have results, and I want you to think about that. And I have been seeing and hearing the unseen and the unheard, the people from my old neighborhood and neighborhoods like it all over America. And when I think about the moment we face, the opportunity to close the gap between our reality and our ideals, the gap between so many of our lives, the unspoken anxiety and in some cases shouted anger, between that and Dr. King's dream, it seems wrong to be sitting down. Not when I understand what it takes to close that gap and have a record of doing so.